All right, welcome to 2024. This is our first podcast of the new year. My name is Chris. It's Lauren and Matt here. Hey guys,
Happy New
Hello,
Year.
hello. Happy New
just
Year.
first of all, how are you guys feeling about 2024? Because I'm feeling great about it.
Oh, fantastic. I always say at the beginning of the year, and this one's going to ring true for sure. 2024, best year ever.
Hell yeah,
I say
right?
that too. I think a lot of people are scared to even mention, is this going to be a good year after the last couple years we've had? But I think the same thing, Matt. I'm ready for it.
Yeah. Yeah, there is. It's always a renewed sense of hope, and I mean, it is just a date on the calendar, but it's how we perceive it. So if you paint the picture, just like every morning when I wake up, I say today's going to be a great day, and start it off that way. We're setting the table for a great day. Why not do that for a new year? So I think that's a great way to look at it. And today, what we're going to talk about on the podcast is some myths about alcohol and drinking that I know I used to buy into when I was a drinker, and I think many people do because, well, society has made us believe these things. Our friends and family have made us believe these things, and just, being conditioned and programmed throughout our whole life to believe a lot of these things, that alcohol is this magical, wonderful elixir and it's needed in life. And it can be a tough place to break away from if we have all these strong beliefs that alcohol is providing something for us. And so we're going to break down some of the most common myths that people have, because once you're honest about what alcohol is and what it's doing and how it's affecting you, and that it's all a bunch of bullshit, it's easier to break up with it. So the first myth that I want to talk about is, and this was a big one for me, is the myth that alcohol helps you sleep. And I think many people believe that and drink to help them fall asleep. I certainly did. In my own story, if I didn't drink, I would be up pretty much all night, or I'd get like 2 hours of sleep because I was so used to having alcohol knock me out that I had convinced myself that, look, I need this. This is my sleeping aid. I've always had kind of, I've been a night owl. And so the only way to, number one, shut my brain down, and number two, actually get me to go to sleep would be to drink enough to pass out, which obviously is not a good idea. Okay. So here's the deal. Alcohol can make you feel sleepy. It can make you fall asleep and feel tired and stuff like that, especially like wine. I know a lot of people do that. And that is true, right? It can help you fall asleep, but the quality of sleep that you're getting is absolutely awful. You are not getting the REM sleep that you need. That's the rapid eye movement sleep. That is really where your body is restoring and helping you get refreshed for a new day. And when you are constantly drinking, your body's not having that opportunity to restore itself, to replenish itself. And so you wake up feeling groggy and feeling tired. And I think it's just, we all get to this point, if we're drinking on a regular basis, that we just accept that feeling of that grogginess, that waking up with the foggy and tired and, oh God, I got to sludge out of bed and just shrug through the day. And there's just no energy there, and it's because of the alcohol. There's no doubt about it. Your sleep sucks when you are drinking on a regular basis. So it do not buy into the myth that alcohol is helping your sleep. It is detrimental to your sleep. And look, if you're not getting good sleep, it is affecting every other area of your life. It's affecting your work, your relationships, your mood. And so I'm sleeping better now than I have since, I don't know, high school. Like it's amazing what getting good quality sleep. And even if I get 5 or 6 hours of sleep now, I wake up feeling way more refreshed than I ever did while I was drinking. So that's the first myth we want to bust about that. What about you, Lauren? What's something you want to bust?
Yeah. Let's bust another myth. With the sleeping thing, you're really drugged. So one of the things I think in Craig Beck's book, it might or somewhere else, was saying, when you wake up from anesthesia because you've had a surgery, do you feel refreshed and like, geez, that's the best sleep I've ever gotten? Or do you feel like, oh my God, I got run over by a dump truck? And if you think of those two scenarios, you can easily say like the alcohol group, when you're drinking to fall asleep and you're drinking and you're passing out, like you're waking up feeling like you got run over by a dump truck, not like it was the most restful thing in the world. So um, it's a belief that doesn't even make sense, right?
Yeah. And the other thing too is, like, as alcohol leaves your body, this is why many people wake up at 3 a.m. in the morning. The alcohol is
Hmm.
leaving and your heart is pounding and racing. You're dehydrated, you're thirsty.
Hmm.
and the anxiety level is through the roof, like, and then trying to get back to bed. Yeah. So it's just not good for your sleep. Stay away
Not
from it
good.
for that. If
Yep.
even if it's just for that, you want to get better quality sleep, kick alcohol to the curb.
Definitely. Yep. All right. So the one I'm going to be busting right now is I need it to socialize. It makes me more social. I was a believer of this. I don't know about you guys, but I know a lot of people who believe this. And in working with clients, we're really breaking this one down because once you know it's not true, then we can move past it. And now you don't need it to socialize, right? It was a lie anyway. But I want to take you back to when you were 9 years old and you went to a birthday party and your mom was going to drop you off. And you're like, God, no, don't drop me off here. I don't know anybody but one person. And maybe you don't know that person well. So there's all these kids and they're all, maybe you're not 9, maybe you're 5. And you're kind of clinging to your mom's leg, kind of hiding behind her, peeking out, seeing what's going on. But within a couple of minutes, you got brave. You started kind of talking to other kids and interacting and playing beside them so that you could get closer to them. So you had to learn how to do this as a child. You knew how to socialize. Then you became whatever age you started drinking, and you just realized that it was easier. It was a tool or a crutch that made socializing easier because you didn't need to wait 5, 10 minutes to get brave enough to like make your way into the middle of the room. But these are things we have always known how to do, and we just stop doing it, stop practicing those habits because alcohol came in and it's just way easier, right? You drink a drink and you're like, well, hell yeah, let's go socialize. I'll talk to anybody. Whereas the normal you that's not inebriated, that's not using alcohol, is a little bit more timid. Maybe you need a couple minutes to warm up at a party. But this is something that we have learned to do throughout our life and didn't need alcohol then. We don't need it now. We just need to relearn. That's what I got on that. Anything from you guys on that?
Well, yeah, absolutely. The thing I want to add is it's like, okay, if you are maybe a little bit socially awkward, number one, most people are. Most people aren't like super confident, and so that's normal. But the other thing is, why would you want to keep masking it when you can actually overcome it, when you can deal with it and figure it out? So that you go, oh, okay, I'm not going to rely on this crutch of alcohol anymore. Yeah, it's going to be awkward at first, the first couple of times I go and socialize without it, but eventually I'm going to get that confidence that I don't need to have any sort of crutch. And what that does to your overall confidence is huge. So it's like alcohol just keeps masking things temporarily, but it's like at the end of the day, why don't we want to work on these things and figure them out so we don't have to mask anything? And I didn't ever look at it that way. And now that I'm a non-drinker, I look at it that way and I go, yeah, that makes perfect sense. So yeah, good stuff on that. How about you, Matt? What myth are you busting?
Yeah, just a comment on Lauren's last one. Like, I was a really shy kid, so that when alcohol came to my side, so to speak, or so I thought at the time, that was really what broke through the gate for me as far as socializing. And then eventually, as soon as I got into the workforce, because I was around 16 years old, so I started working, and then of course through high school and all that, I was learning how to socialize, and eventually sort of caught up. And then the alcohol made me overconfident. So when I was in social situations, I was being a dick, right?
Yeah.
So then it's got like the needle, like I caught up to where I needed to be socially, and didn't even realize it. And then I was just kind of being,
I'm
yeah.
I'm really having a hard time seeing you as a dick, Matt. I what
Well,
what what
yeah,
what,
for
what would
me,
Dick
for me.
Matt do? I'm just curious. Would you like make fun of people or like rip on people
No,
or
no, I don't like teasing as much. But just I'd be more brash, right? I'd be interrupting and a little bit more apt to debate people just because I'd like to see them get riled up, that kind of thing.
right, right,
Yeah,
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 yeah. So I
yeah.
appreciate that though. Thanks. I'm
Yeah.
very
No,
non-dickish.
it's and it is a compliment because you're
Yeah,
such a nice guy. Like I'm having a hard time seeing you being a dick. Like,
yeah. A
you
dick for me, it's a relative term, relative dickishness. And Lauren, I really like what you're saying about. I love it. I'm gonna borrow it now. The whole like remember what you're like as a kid for socializing. Like you're able to do it and kind of warming up to the people and that you're in and around. I love that. So thank you for sharing that. For me, my myth was I needed alcohol to be creative. So I started playing guitar right in around the same time I started drinking and getting into smoking weed, and a few years after that, psychedelic mushrooms and such. And I've truly believed, just from the culture and reading all the different rock biographies, there was this like identity of being a musician, of being a creative type or an artist. You had to be somewhat tormented, right? You had to be like this troubled soul that was drinking all the time. And that's the only way I could like get my feelings out of me and express myself in this unique way.
Yeah.
was to like open myself up, open my heart with alcohol, right?
Mhm.
So that I fell into that identity of being like the the troubled musician very naturally, and I liked it, and I found comfort in it for years. And what happened was when I was 30, I hit sort of that was definitely my threshold moment, which we've talked about before, rock bottom, if you will. And yeah, it's just the confluence of everything that happened. My band at the time had been awarded a grant to record a professional album. And I was going in to record my guitar and vocals on the month that I just so happened to take off to dry out. Like I put my hand up, I'm like, I need some time off work, everything. And I was like, this is great because this is going to give me something to focus on while I'm not drinking. And initially I was like, well, how is this going to work? Like I wrote all this music on substances, various substances, a lot of alcohol. And now I'm like recording it all like stone sober. And that honestly was like a huge turning point for me because my recall was shockingly way better, or not so shockingly. My performance went up. I could like practice or play for like 6 or 8 hours. I remember I just nailed all the vocals and basically in one day in 8 hours. I never would have been able to do that otherwise. And it was kind of like when I talked about going camping the first time. Initially, I was like, this is kind of not boring. It's just kind of quieter. It's a little bit like gentler. And I just wasn't used to it. So, but because it was almost like this immersive experience of recording and everything, I realized, no, this is actually way better. And it was like a huge turning point for me. And that was honestly, the first time I played a note without having a few drinks beforehand or smoking a joint or whatever in my whole life. And yeah, it was a huge turning point for me. So that was my myth busting of you don't need it to be creative.
Yeah, no, definitely. And it's, if we're doing something that we want to show the best of us, why would we hinder a part of us, like the prefrontal cortex that gets affected when we drink? I heard somebody say the other day, it's like trying to go down a hill and your brakes aren't working in the car. Like that's what's happening when you're drinking. So why would we want to go into something where we want to be creative? We want to put the best out there. And, again, it comes back to this bullshit that we believe because we've seen other artists maybe that have said, "Oh yeah, I do my best work when I'm drunk," and all this kind of stuff. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a good one there. The one that I want to talk about here, another myth, and I really want to run a disclaimer on this because this is not medical advice. None of us are
Mm.
doctors. None of us are, speaking from that lens on this. So I say that before I talk about this, but I think it's important to discuss this myth, and that is that quitting drinking is dangerous. Like if you just stop quitting drinking cold turkey, it is dangerous. And so the disclaimer I want to run is that it very well can be for a very small percentage of people. If you are physically dependent on alcohol, if you are drinking all day, every day, you need it just to get through. Yes, absolutely, it can be dangerous. And you should always seek medical advice. If you're in that situation and you're listening to this right now, do not just quit cold turkey. I think it's always a good idea to talk to your doctor about quitting drinking anyway, just so you get a plan with him or her and they can tell you like here's where I think your risks might be. But at the end of the day, it is a very small percentage of people that have those kind of dangerous withdrawal symptoms. For the vast majority of people that are probably listening to this, are high functioning, going to work, holding down a job, that kind of stuff, and you're drinking, even if you're drinking every day, you're not going to have to run into those very dangerous situations. Again, it may happen. And so I'm not saying that it doesn't, but the problem becomes is this idea that it's super dangerous to just quit cold turkey has been pushed down by the alcohol companies because they want you to be afraid of it. They don't want you to stop drinking. And so we can get into this myth that, oh my God, I can't just stop because it's dangerous. So we have worked with many people and myself included. I mean, I was drinking a lot. I was drinking at least a 12 pack of beer a day, plus some whiskey or vodka. Like I was passing out on my couch every night. There was very rarely a day that I didn't go without alcohol. So it was a lot that I was consuming. And I just stopped. And a lot of people have done that as well, right? Um, there are going to be withdrawal symptoms, mild anxiety. You're going to feel irritable. You're going to be tired. Your sleep's going to suck. You're going to want to probably slap people around a little bit. You're going to be like a zombie And those are the kind of withdrawal symptoms that most people are going to have. Again, I really want to be careful about this because we're not doctors, but so I don't want to speak to the medical part of it, but I don't want you to not stop drinking because you've bought into the myth that it's dangerous. And if you want to taper and you want to cut back slowly, go ahead and do that. And again, it's always a good idea to speak with a medical person before quitting. But it's the same lines of when we believed that wine is healthy for us because, it's good for your heart and all this kind of shit. That has been debunked because all the stuff, what is it, resveratrol or whatever the hell that thing is.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know what the word is.
You got
That's
it. Resveratrol, I think maybe you had it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the stuff that's in the red grapes, right? That's the healthy part of it, but it gets totally negated by all the ethanol and
Yeah.
all the stuff that's
Totally
in
negated.
it.
Yeah.
So you're not. It's a lie that's been debunked. That all those studies have been pushed out by the alcohol companies, and now it's coming to light. So just be very careful with what you believe about alcohol, and keep in mind the alcohol companies, they want you to stay drinking. They really do. So, again, if you are planning on quitting, talk to your medical professional. It can be dangerous to just stop if you are physically dependent on it, but for the vast majority of people, you should be okay. You're a nurse, Lauren, so I want to make
Yeah,
sure I'm
yeah,
okay the way that I'm
yeah.
saying this.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, and so being part of the medical profession as a nurse practitioner, I would say it's always going to be dangerous, more dangerous to continue with your bad behavior with alcohol than it is going
Mm,
to be to quit. Now, how do you need to quit? You may need some guidance. You may need to sober up in a rehab or a medical uh, supervised detox, but you're still going to be better off if we go ahead and quit anyway. So, but the alcohol industry does use this to keep us hooked because it's kind of letting us off the hook. It's like, well, it's dangerous to quit.
yep. So
It's also
why
dangerous
try?
to keep drinking. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
So
Yeah.
just, use your discernment and talk to your providers, talk to your medical people and find out what the best option is going to be for you. Most people are only psychologically dependent. If they're, like our viewership, the people that are, watching us are usually going to be those high functioning alcoholics or problem drinkers. They're still going to work. They're still doing all the things. Those
Yeah.
people typically do not need a medical detox, but you will find that out by talking to your own provider. But
yeah,
yes,
There you
Chris,
go.
you said
absolutely.
it really
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that we are covered there because we don't
Yes.
want
Yeah.
anybody to be in a dangerous situation. We would never
Right.
want that. But we
That's
also don't
right.
want you to keep drinking because you're afraid of what will happen. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's dangerous, like Lauren just said, to keep drinking. What if the next time you do drink, you go and get in the car and kill somebody? I mean, that's dangerous, and you know what
Right.
I mean. So,
Yeah.
okay, good. So we got that one. What about what's another myth, Lauren, that you want to cover?
Yeah, this one's going to be a quick and easy. It's confidence and courage.
Mm,
So all I have to do is give you a little history lesson to know that this is complete bullshit. So what is Dutch courage? Dutch courage was something invented by the military back in the day when combat was on a field. Here comes this person, here comes this person. The cannons are going off. The people that are running onto the field are about to get just killed. That's what's about to happen. And so the officers would give the young military boys a couple of shots before they went out on the field to become basically fodder. Like they were not going to make it off this field. You guys have seen the movies. And so who in their right mind would come out of a foxhole and charge against 300 military soldiers on the other side with horses and cannons and all that? Nobody would. You wouldn't get them out of the foxhole. So let's go make them brave. Let's dumb them down. Let's give them a couple shots of whatever it is, whiskey or vodka or whatever. And now they're like pumped to go out there and prove how big of a badass they are. Because
mm,
alcohol actually does not make you more confident. It makes you really stupid. And it also takes away your discernment so that you can make really good decisions. So, why would you go and do a speech on a podium and take 2 shots first to calm your nerves to make you more confident? You're not going
mm.
to deliver your message properly. You're actually going to
Yeah.
deliver it really poorly. If you are running out into the field, here's another good example. This is what we always hear about these young boys that stupidly think I can jump from this rooftop to this rooftop. A sober person would look at that and be like, no, that's dumb. But you've got this courage, this confidence in yourself because of alcohol. And that's when we see people doing these stupid stunts, trying to jump building to building, missing, horrible consequences. So It does not give you confidence. It brings down your, what is that called? The inhibitions. It brings down your
Mm,
inhibitions. So then you actually do some really risky stuff. Are you
mhm.
confident and flirting with this dude at the bar? Or are you just really stupid and you're going to put yourself in this really bad situation? Is that what a confident woman does or a confident man? No, it's what a drunk woman or man does. So that's all I've got on that. It's not confidence, it's just stupidity.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I don't know about you guys, but my confidence and courage is way better as a
Way.
non-drinker than it ever was as a drinker, because when you can go, yeah, I don't need a mask. I'm just me in any situation. That is real courage that we are hoping to find when we're drinking, but you actually do find it when you're not drinking. And the longer you go, the more you build it. And it's pretty amazing. So if you're really looking for courage and confidence, the best way is to get rid of alcohol. So I love the way that that's stated. How about you, Matt?
Mm. Yeah, for sure. And again, I love the history lesson. Lauren bringing
Well,
some great content today. I love it. Well, we all are, but it's nice to have the nurse in the house to be able to confirm what you were saying, Chris, because that's a very could be a very touchy subject. I think but well, you guys handled it very well. So I love that we brought that up because that's yeah, that's a touchy one, isn't it? The whole yeah, drinking do I need to keep drinking in order to not harm myself further, that sort of thing. So I love
Yeah.
that. Yeah, for me, to end it off, the idea that it was like a reward for myself, right? The myth that alcohol is a reward. And I can with clear mind, clear conscience, look back on how I used to go about thinking that was the case. And, it was the typical, I get all my chores done in the morning. I could, have this space of time at the end of the day to reward myself with some alcohol. And honestly, it would never, yeah, I can look back and just with all honesty say that it never worked out as I perceived it to. I would often get worked up about something, right? I would start like drinking at something or be like it would amplify something negative, I guess. I'm imagining it's because it's like a depressant, so it does sort of lower my vibration into this state of things that are bugging me and problems that are arising, and then I'd get more agitated than anything. So I wasn't relaxing. I was, doing a number on my body. It was making me more of a negative person, which is really not my natural state. I was doing stupid things, like so I'd try and do like the moderation thing. So I'd have 6 beers, knowing full well that after those 6 beers, I'd want more and either hop on my bike or worse yet, hop in the car, go to another liquor store to get some more. So, looking back on it, like there's nothing rewarding about that, right? Again, stupidity. It was not me like carving out some time. I know how to actually take care of myself and have some self-care and block some time off to actually unwind. I've learned how to do that, but I had to learn how to do that because beforehand I had this idea that alcohol was my reward and alcohol was going to let me kick back. And like I say, to summarize it, just like it was doing none of what I perceived it to be doing. It was working me up. It was making me like negative. I was doing a number on my body, and then it was making me do stupid things throughout the evening. So there's nothing rewarding about that, is there?
Yeah. Yeah. I think we get into this place like, oh, I deserve it, right? And it's like, well, no,
Right.
you deserve to be happy and healthy, and alcohol is not giving you that. It is making you stupid. And Lauren, did you have something you wanted to add to that?
yeah. So I'm just going to wrap in dry January real quick because we're on January 4th. And I love when people tell me that they're going to go on a diet and lose 20 pounds and then they're going to reward themselves with a milkshake. Like,
Yeah.
what? Okay.
Mm.
So if you're doing dry January, your reward for completing dry January is not alcohol. Please, God, find a different reward,
Right.
because we don't want to reward good behavior with the things that we were moving away from because they were bad behaviors. So it's not a treat. But then, Matt, also what you were saying is one of the psychological things that occurs, like the hit we get when we first take that sip, when you're trying to
Mhm.
relax and you've been in this cycle of alcohol over and over, that first sip feels like relaxation, right? Like
Mhm.
you can visibly just watch somebody take that first sip and they're like, oh yes,
Mm.
thank God.
Mhm.
But it's actually not that the alcohol is relaxing them. It's that they were already in a withdrawal process that was stressing their body out. And when you took that
Mm.
first sip, your body got the drug that it was craving and fiending for. And so, of course, that feels like, ah, now I can relax. But actually,
Right.
that's drug abuse. That's drug behavior, man.
Mhm.
And so, if we get far away enough from that, like you said, Matt, you will find ways to relax on your own, self
Mhm.
care.
Totally.
Alcohol is not self-care, even though it's been publicized to be such in these last
Hmm.
couple of years, like mommy wine culture and all that stuff. So
Yeah. Well,
Totally.
and this really hits on the point that we haven't even talked about in this discussion, but it comes up all the time is, oh, I drink because it helps me relieve anxiety. And that's the biggest bullshit lie ever because, like Lauren
same
was
thing.
just talking about, it's the kick that's kicking in. The only thing that's relieving is the anxiety that was caused by the alcohol in the first place. And the number one thing that I have noticed since quitting drinking and our clients' experience is anxiety levels go way down.
Way down.
And you
Yeah.
cannot continue to, excuse me, you cannot continue to tell yourself that lie that you need it to handle anxiety because that is doing the opposite. And that's one of the biggest ones there too. So, yeah, good conversation. Please, if you're thinking about quitting drinking, maybe you're doing dry January, whatever the case is, when you're listening to this, get really honest about it. I hope you're listening to what we're saying here because all of us used to believe all these things that we just talked about. And now that we've seen that that's bullshit, it's you can't go back. And so I really want you to get your head out of the sand and go, okay, let's get honest about alcohol. It has zero benefits. And everything that we take it because we believe it's giving us, it's actually doing the opposite. And that is not a lie. So I hope that you find value in this. Look, if you are not already in our Facebook group, go join us. It is facebook.com/I want freedom from alcohol, or if you just search freedom from alcohol, you'll find it. And it's a great community. And yeah, every Thursday in January, we are hosting a live event. And Lauren, do you maybe want to kind of touch on that, what we're going to be talking about?
Yeah, so tonight we're kicking it off. We're just hosting support for sober curious people, people who are participating in Dry January, people who are trying to participate in Dry January, people who want to learn more about Dry January, or just sober curious for the future past January. But we're kicking it off tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern, so 7 p.m. What is that? Mountain? No, 7 p.m. Central. 6
Yeah.
p.m. Mountain, 5 p.m. Pacific. That's so hard to do. But tonight we're just going to be talking about like, hey, what's going really well for you? It's day 4. What tips and tricks do you need? I thought we would talk a little bit about socializing tonight. We just did that on the podcast, but socializing one-to-one. So if we're on there and there's a bunch of people on there, we can talk about like, each person, like, hey, what if I'm doing this? Well, let's talk about it. Let's go over these tips, tricks. Let's help you all be successful for a dry January so that you can see for those 30 days how good life is without it. And maybe, just maybe, you continue on after January.
Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely. And in order to be a part of that, you do have to be in our Facebook group. Again, it's Freedom from Alcohol. That's where we post the Zoom link. We will also be streaming the calls in there live. So if you're unable to be on live, you can at least watch it and you can watch the replay too. So there's going to be a lot of great tips and help in there. And just the support, the community alone is really great. So go check that out again. Join us on there. And if you're interested in working with us, we coach people. We work one-on-one. We have our own private group that is just the community of our clients. And that is an amazing place. We do hypnosis, we do Psych K, we do story work, we do all sorts of cool shit.
Yeah,
And ultimately, we help you change your relationship with alcohol without having to fight for it, without having to, God, I wish I could drink, but I can't. I really want to stress that point because it doesn't have to be a struggle, right? And that's what we help people with. So if you're interested in that, you can go to coachbychris.com and fill out the questionnaire there or schedule a call or just message one of us on our Facebook group and you'll find us there as well. So, all right, guys, great discussion today.
Yeah.
Appreciate seeing you all. Happy 2024. Let's go kick some ass this year. All right.
let's do it.
Absolutely.
Bye,
You bet.
y'all.
Bye, everybody.